Welcome everybody. Welcome to my classroom. Here I'm going to be talking to you about the awakening health model that is very dear to me and to everyone here at Vedika Global, my graduates and my team of teachers. It is very special because I believe that Vedika Global is the only place in the world unfolding the awakening health model. I gave this model awakening, the name awakening health, because this does not deal with fighting with health or doubting health, but really awakening it or manifesting it from within. It may seem like I have concocted a new model, but what I've really done is return to the old way, the original way that true Ayurveda was always conveyed back in the old days, thousands of years ago, in traditional schools called wisdom schools or the gurukulams. And there the guru or the great master would teach the sincere students called the shishya all about how you can manifest health of body, mind and soul, and also carry that health forward in your relationships, in your life goals, and truly become pain-free at a physical level, at a relationship level, at a mental, psychological level, and even at a spiritual level, because sometimes we feel existentially separate from, the whole universe, and that is existential pain, that alienation. And Ayurveda wants to address that, but instead of fighting for it, we can awaken it from it, we can manifest it, because the basic premise of the original or true Ayurveda is that health is your birthright. It is your true nature. That is why the teaching goes, aham arogyam, your true nature is health, your true nature is not disease. So therefore any dis-ease that you are experiencing is really only a superficial layer that has come upon your body, mind and soul. And once you learn how to think correctly, once you learn how to eat correctly, which is ahar, and you learn how to live correctly, which is vihar. So these three things are critical in the awakening health model. And I have, with this creation of this one-year course, tried to create a very systematic return to the original roots of Ayurveda, because I found that this model works every time. We are now in our 10th year, and we are choosing to digitalize all our courses so that more and more people who want to be pain-free and be truly happy, truly healthy all over the world can benefit from it. So I'm glad you are joining me in my online campus here. And I think what I'm about to tell you is going to give you so much solace, so much hope, and so much joy. And I want to tell you that I myself have benefited from this model, because when I was a young woman, it's really just a teenager, I could barely walk. I could barely lift a cup to my lips, because many years later, it was diagnosed that I have a genetic condition that puts many people in wheelchairs. And I decided that not on my timeline will I ever go in a wheelchair. And I remember talking to my guru about this, and at that time I couldn't walk, and he said, if you can't walk, why not plan on flying? And he had this smile in his eyes, and I knew what he was inviting me to. He was inviting me as a teenager to immerse myself in the knowledge that he was carrying and teaching the whole world. And instead of benefiting from my grandfather merely as a, benign and warm grandfather, I initiated a formal relationship with my teacher as a guru, and I began leading a life that continues to make me able to walk and move and do what I do in this world. And later, some years ago, when I suffered from an accident and a neck injury, it was recommended that probably, I would be in a lot of pain. I'd need, serious painkillers. I would need to go through several surgeries to even hold my neck up. And even though my neck is still stiff, and it's going to get better and better, but I am pain-free. And once again, it is due to Ayurveda, and because aham arogyam, health is my true nature. And the lifestyle I lead, the food I eat, and the thoughts I think are enough for me to overcome a pretty critical and serious nature of pain that had taken over my body, because the neck is a very central joint and it affects, nerves in your arms all the way through your spine, and it can create a lot of immobility and stress to the body and mind. And then over these last 20 years of being a healer and a teacher, I have been teaching this awakening model to countless students. I think I have thousands of graduates and students all over the world now who are wowed by this knowledge. And here, knowledge itself is the medicine. As I teach, the transformation happens. As you listen, your old belief systems, they snap, and new knowledge, new ways of living, thinking, and valuing yourself come into place, and that itself connects you to your inner health. So health is not something that you have to work towards. Health is something you just have to let go of things that don't belong to you. That's it. And this gorgeous, amazing sun of inner health is shining right now, except that the clouds of wrong beliefs, wrong foods, and wrong lifestyle are just holding back from you experiencing the warmth and the radiance of the sun of health inside you. So awakening health is truly awakening to your own health. And I am recording this video so that you can get inspired, not only by my story, but some of the more case studies that I'll keep sharing with you. And see if this is the route you want to move towards for reclaiming your own health and well-being. Because the basic premise of the awakening health model is that health will not lead to well-being. We think when we get healthy, we'll be happy. When we get healthy, we'll be cheerful. When we get healthy, we're gonna, just want to cook for ourselves. Instead, what I want to say is well-being leads to health. We're going to start creating and crafting well-being every day. And this is not going to be just some generic, hopeful vision that we have, but you will know what foods to cook, what lifestyle measures to take, and what exact thoughts to think, even if they are 5-6 repetitive thoughts. And all of this together will, take up the well-being quotient in your body and mind so much, all the clouds will scatter away and your inner health will start shining. That's just how it works. It's worked every time. It's worked for people with infertility, for multiple sclerosis, for fibromyalgia, for all kinds of disorders, from even asthma and eczema, you name it. I have found that ultimately emotional health, nutrition health, and a lifestyle health and healthy regimens around this are enough. And then 10 years ago, I decided, the whole world likes to give Ayurvedic drugs. They are albeit plant-based, but they are expensive, they are hard to procure, and they are also, really expensive for Mother Earth to keep supplying us humans our ever-growing need for, medicine. And because of that, the Himalayan mountains and places in India where herbs were growing in a native way, they've all become eroded. So many herbs, almost 90% herbs, Ayurvedic herbs in India, are now in a critically endangered list. Why? Because the greedy human being does not change their food, does not change their thoughts, does not change their lifestyle. They just want to pop an Ayurvedic pill versus a Western medicine pill. That's the only difference. And I wanted to say a no to this because ecology is a very deep focus, not only in my life, but all of the Vedic, system, which is the mother philosophy of Ayurveda, known as the Vedas. So I said, why don't I start creating clinics and programs, and I can see and let me experiment. If without giving even, plant-based drugs, if health is your birthright, will it jump right out and look at you in the face? And it happened. It happened again and again. People lost weight, blood sugar got corrected, physical pain got healed, psychological trauma improved without needing to depend upon drugs. Maybe an exception here or there, but maybe 98% of the time we never gave any Ayurvedic herb. And if we did 2 to 5%, it was with extra care and after thanking that plant or thanking that herb and being extra conscientious around it. And oh my God, it was a miracle again and again and again, without needing any kind of botanical drug, bottled and capsuled and, in any which way brought to you from across the world, from India to you, just by some flowers that were growing in your garden or some special fruit that was in the season, and we taught you a special recipe to potentiate it, and certain thoughts that I helped you think at bedtime and in the morning or while you're commuting to work. You're getting healthy. So I'm teaching you this course with great conviction, not just from my personal benefit or personal experiments with myself or my students, but what it has been doing to countless people. I don't even know their names, through our charitable clinical ventures. And now this knowledge is spreading far and wide due to my book being available in so many continents. And I'm receiving letters from every part of the world almost every day about people following every word of my book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom, trying to sincerely live it and seeing a difference. And who are the kind of people who are going to take a book and try to live by it? People who are really suffering, because otherwise normal people, they just read a book, they barely read 10 pages and they're done. They're ready to buy another book or they're ready to, watch another movie. So it was the sickest of the sick people who were reading the Awakening Health model from my book. And even they started seeing a difference. So is this all about me and what I did? No. I bow right now to the great sages, men and women, rishis and rishikas of ancient India, who had the knowledge and they gave it away. And they gave it away in its entirety. They did not keep back secrets. They did not try to dilute it. They did not try to package it. They just gave it all. And I'm really fortunate that I grew up in a family with one such rishi, a sage-like teacher who was the son of another sage. And my family goes back, several generations in India. We are healers and teachers of this Vedic wisdom of Vedanta, Ayurveda, and yoga. And I believe that I'm one of those few fortunate people in the 21st century who grew up in the 20th century receiving this knowledge in the same way, in a whole way, in a truly heartfelt way. So I feel it's my sacred duty now to give it back to the world. And I invite you to my classroom. We're going to do like a real quick thanks to my teacher. You can see my great-grandfather and my grandfather here. These were great sages in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh, India. We grew up near the holy river Sarayu. So Ayodhya is the birthplace of Lord Rama, considered an avatar for the Hindus. And it's a pilgrimage town, and I grew up learning here. And my family's ancestry goes back several thousand years here in Ayodhya. In fact, one of our ancestor rishis is a contributor of hymns in the Rig Veda. So we are very proud to belong to this lineage. And we have always an understanding of the higher power in Ayurveda. And so I would like to begin this class formally now by chanting a hymn to Lord Dhanvantari, who is known as the god of Ayurveda. Namami Dhanvantarim Adidevam Surasurair Vandita Padapatmam Loke Jararuk Bhayamrityunasham Datarmisham vividaushadinam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace Peace. To the higher power that is nameless and formless and all-pervading, who we remember in the avatar of Lord Dhanvantari, we bow to you and we ask you that you take away our fear and our sorrow, first and foremost, and take away all afflictions of pain that afflict our body and our mind and our soul. And may you introduce us to all ways that we can heal ourselves and become free of disease and death. May we recognize our immortal nature, Atman. It is so wonderful to remember that we are protected, and therefore you must know that Ayurveda is a science, but it is a divine science, because we believe that Ayurveda has come down to us not only from the great seers known as rishis and rishikas, but they themselves were meditating and received the knowledge of Ayurveda in their higher and pure states of consciousness from that divine higher power that we call Dhanvantari. Ayurveda is a living tradition, as I mentioned. Its dates were misunderstood in the beginning. There was a German scholar, Max Müller, who first came across the Vedas and was shocked that these Vedas were, so advanced in every field: medicine, arithmetic, geometry, geography, astronomy, language, music, art. How could cultures so ancient have this kind of knowledge? So he guessed, and he accepted that he guessed. And he said that, the Veda is some 1200 years BCE. But it was only a guess, and everybody started believing. But anthropological, linguistic, and other evidence now shows that the Vedas, which are the most ancient body of knowledge from ancient India, of which Ayurveda is a branch, we are now looking at 5,000 to 8,000 years BCE. Probably ancient, very ancient civilizations existed before the modern world really even could grasp with the concept of time. And Ayurveda has been a living tradition. It never died. It never died till today. Every home in India, in the urban world or in the villages, knows Ayurveda and, cooks by these recipes, etc., and knows some home remedies to use. Most people in India, if they get a cough or a cold or an allergy, will not right away, go for over-the-counter medication or for antibiotics, etc., but they would go to their mom or grandmother or aunt or uncle, and they would always have a home remedy which works, because it has worked for 5,000 years. They would, if somebody develops a fever, you can count upon it. 9 out of 10 homes would be cooking a certain recipe which is known to pacify fevers. And everybody has this common knowledge. It's just part of, in the public domain, because it is part of the collective memory, not only of India, but at one time India included, places like Nepal was part of India, Burma, Indonesia, Sri Lanka. These were very interconnected cultures. If they were not geographically one, they were interconnected. So there is a lot of Ayurveda to be found in Southeast Asia. Of course, the pulse point of all of that was the current India. So Ayurveda was taught, as you can see, by a teacher, a sage-like teacher, known as an Acharya, to the students. Acharya means one who not only teaches this knowledge like a scholar, doesn't just teach you knowledge to memorize it, for example, and they're just, regurgitating it because they've memorized it, but because they live that knowledge. And they have been brought up with that knowledge, they live that knowledge, and the student is in close proximity with the teacher to see that they live that knowledge. And there is a beautiful give and take that happens here. And this is known as Guru, Master, Shishya, Disciple, Parampara tradition. So we pay homage to that because at least I am a student of that. And so I chant Om Narayana Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Vande Guru Parampara means I bow that great teachers gave it to great students. Those great students became great teachers again. And that is why, without needing a printing press or needing, social media, we have this exact knowledge that has been transmitted to us. You would be surprised to know that the ancient texts didn't really get codified into written material for a long time. In fact, the Charak Samhita, which is one of the texts that we teach from here, did not really get codified into a text form, that knowledge, until probably 1 BCE. Prior to that, it would be taught, word by word so carefully from the teacher to a carefully selected disciple. And that disciple would have such a pure mind that their only job was to retain it. So they were living libraries of that knowledge, and then it would be transferred on to the next generation. So this is so that the purity of it could be maintained. And so we are grateful to this. So we come to what is Ayurveda. For some of you, this knowledge is already familiar, but a great, review is always good. So Ayurveda comes from 2 words, Ayur plus Veda. Ayur means it comes from knowledge. Ayur means life. It comes from the word Ayush. And Veda means knowledge, to know. So you can say it is a knowledge of life. That's interesting. We have knowledge of geometry, knowledge of statistics, knowledge of fashion, knowledge of beauty, knowledge of politics, polity. But do we have knowledge of life? How to live. How to live in such a way that you become healthy. You connect with your inner sun of health. Happy, cheerful. Reach your potential. Experience a vibrancy that you're alive. Life is a gift. And you all felt it when you were a child. You were excited just to open your eyes. I remember when my son would open his eyes would be sparkling with mischief and plans and happiness and full of himself. My son we all have such high self-esteem when we are born. Esteem means to like yourself. Esteem means liking yourself. So self-esteem means how much do you like yourself? And most of us will say, actually, I think, why? Because the society erodes us. But Ayurveda returns that esteem back to us. Ayurveda says, you are an amazing being. You're a precious being. And here are these good thoughts, good food, and good lifestyle. Pamper yourself, like yourself. Become spiritually shameless and selfish and take care of yourself. Like yourself, because when somebody likes themselves, they remind others to like themselves. All esteem is inner. You should be able to say, I am my fan. And Ayurveda wants you to do that. This is the knowledge of life, not just ordinary biological life. It includes all life, biological, psychological, sociological, spiritual, the gamut. I love it that there is at last a science that talks about me, you, us, and how we can be our best. That is what Ayurveda is about. Prayojanam chasya swastasya swasya rakshanam aturasya vikara prashamanam cha. Simple. Ayurveda has a focus. Ayurveda is very clear. If you are unhealthy, come to me. I want to heal you. If you're unhealthy, let me heal you. Don't stay unhealthy. Don't buy this gossip that just because you got a neck injury, you're going to be injured the rest of your life. Just because your mom had something, now you're going to have it. Just because you have a genetic condition, you're doomed. Don't buy this. Health is your true nature. Let me help you come to a good place with it. Really good place with it. And if you are already healthy, it's imperative that you stay healthy, because to remain healthy is dharma. It's the right thing to do. Every healthy unit makes this planet healthy, because health is happiness. Sukham sangikam arogyam. Only true happiness is arogyam, or health. You all know it. No matter how many good things are happening in your life, if you have a little bit of unhealth, nothing matters. So therefore, it has a two-pronged focus. I like it. It leaves no one out. And, sometimes healthy people, they take their health for granted. And they think that it's fine. I'm healthy. I have good genes. I exercise. I do this. I do that. But, everybody should exercise in a cookie-cutter way. Everybody should eat salads in a cookie-cutter way. I don't think we are now beginning to see that it has some benefits, but it can't work on everybody. Everybody's health is unique. It's a gift to them. But we never know when difficult times come and strain our mind or our emotions. You just never know when we get challenged or something happens. So how can we use Ayurveda food, thought, and lifestyle to ensure that we have such healthy health is so revealed within us that we can handle any shock. We can go through any viral storm or season and come through, healthy. That should be our goal. By the way, this is a good time to tell you that I have been teaching here at Vedika Global for 10 years. And I was just recently telling my students that it's been slightly over 10 years that I have not had to take a single day off because I got a fever, I got a cold, I got a cough, I got a diarrhea, nothing. So, and this can be your life too. This is not just my story. Countless students of mine, they work on their health, they improve their immunity so much that these minor ailments never inflict them. And even if they get like a major earth-shaking accident, their life still continues unabated and they feel radiant from within and pain-free. So Ayurveda addresses 5 dimensions of health. By the way, this is one of my students. If you've read my book, then this is Tracy Cunningham. She lost 40 pounds with us, with Ayurveda. She got over antidepressants and she had serious allergies. She had the kind of skin allergies because of which she would have to go to the ER several times a year. And the only thing that she really had was Benadryl, an anti-allergic, that she would swallow. And back then, the non-drowsy version was not available. So she'd be drowsy at work. She was 200 plus pounds at one time. And this was her, I bet she lost even more weight, but I know that she kept losing weight. And did I ever even sit down with her and tell her what to do? No. She just learned how to awaken health from within. So we just used her photo here because I thought you might be eager to see the face of Tracy after reading her story. But Ayurveda likes to address 5 dimensions of existence: the body, the mind, the senses, the spirit, and the relationships. And I think with Tracy here, we addressed all of them from a body perspective. She learned about which foods work for her and which foods don't. We explained it like, think of it, which ones are your buddies and which ones are, they are kind of your relatives, but you can kind of not meet them so regularly. They're there in your universe. And, so she worked on her body, she worked on her senses, because our senses, they bring in food to the mind. So, what kind of media should she be exposing herself? Should she be meditating? Should she be listening to chants? Should she be saying certain words to herself so she can hear them? So her own senses, she was purifying them and loving them. And then from a mental perspective, she was dealing with a lot of stress. And, some of it was an undigested stress from her childhood. due to growing up in an abusive household, which she shares about not in my former book, but in my forthcoming book. Her story is there about growing up with a emotionally abusive father, and then, you know, having to deal with all this physical ill health. But she learned many things about Ayurveda psychology through our teachings here, including, you know, how to deal with thoughts that are agitating, thoughts that are dulling and depressing, and how, despite those two, we are not our thoughts, and how we can evoke balancing, calming, masterful thoughts. So we actually have a science around it that we taught her. And so that really helped her, and she started making her own reality, because sometimes the mind can have a default reality because of memories or input, and then she would think a brand new thought and change her reality. So that was a big thing, because when your mind starts entertaining thoughts of, I like myself because I'm enough, I am enough, I deserve health, she started making better choices. When we don't like ourselves, we put trash in our mouth. When we don't like ourselves, we don't give ourselves a holiday. When we don't like ourselves, we don't tell our boss we deserve a raise. When we don't like ourselves, we don't dress up in these pretty clothes and, you know, and tell the world that we are here. And, you know, so the mind and liking itself and feeling like I'm enough was really important. And this is where Ayurveda benefits from Ayurveda psychology, a sub-branch of traditional Ayurveda, which is, you know, uniquely taught by me here. And then also Vedanta, which is the spiritual aspect of Ayurveda, a sister science that we taught. Sociological, she learned to, I remember her telling me how a lot of her friends would gossip, and she wondered if they gossiped about her in the background. And she learned how to speak up and say she didn't want to have a gossiping relationship. She wanted to have higher standards. People actually in the beginning, they were shocked at how Tracy would talk to them, but later she has become a leader amongst them. She has started changing the consciousness in her group rather than following people with a lower, you know, vicious or depressed or aggressive consciousness. And finally, spiritual, she's beginning to recognize that she's a soul. She's not just a body. She's not just a mind. She's not just a neural process or a couple of cells, but she's an amazing, precious, powerful being having a physical experience, and she's learning to operate from that. So there is a beautiful verse, you know, Sharir Indriya Sattvatma Samayogo Dhari Jivatam Nityagasjanu Bandasya Paryaya Rayurichyate. What is this life but a beautiful Samayoga, combination of the physical aspect of you, the mental aspect of you, the social aspect of you, the psychological aspect of you, and the spiritual aspect of you. And all of this together is called life. And when you bring them together in alignment, your life begins to flow. How wonderful, and how much in contrast to any other system where you are only your organ, or you're only your mind, or you're only your relationship. And if you want to find out who you are as a spirit, then you go to your temple or to your church or to your mosque. You know, like everything is compartmentalized, and you go to the priest for your, soul, you go to the shrink for your mind, and you go to the MD for your body. But here you are being given an invitation to own all of you and give it due attention. So this is what Ayurveda does. And by the way, when students join our courses, we actually go through these important verses and crack them down word by word, so that you also become familiar with this knowledge and own it into your life. Sanskrit may feel unfamiliar, but it's still nice to hear the original verses and also have someone show you word by word what it means. So therefore, another critical aspect of Ayurveda, which I just want to quickly review with you, is that Ayurveda is always interested in harmony, radical harmony. Between what? Between you, who is the unit, Pinda, and your environment, which is the Brahmanda. So environment can be natural, ecological, social. Family, your family setup can be your environment. So there can be a biological environment, social environment. And at every level, we teach you, Ayurveda teaches you and teaches you how you can be in connection with it. So for example, every few months, the seasons change. That means your environment has changed. What do? We only change our clothes. We go shopping for fall clothes and summer clothes and spring clothes. I was very shocked when I had first come to this country many decades ago, and I found that at the change of every season, people change their outer clothing, but they didn't change their food. They didn't change their sleep patterns. But if you look at any animal in the wild, they will eat different set of grasses, or they will find different set of animals to eat because they are conditioned as to what is right for them. Or they will eat more in a certain season. They'll fast more in a certain season. They might, completely fast, such as the bear, etc., in a certain season. But we humans, we keep eating the same food, and we eat the same food, and we've just read in a magazine, and we change it, and we follow it, and we just have no idea that the season change is not cosmetic. And we are also not made of plastic, and we are also living beings, and this is having an effect upon us. And that's why many students then come back and report, you're right, in certain seasons I feel more hungry, in certain seasons less hungry, and then they start paying attention. And the good thing is that Ayurveda has taken away all our doubts and guesswork, because for thousands of years it observed the human situation and said, here, when it is fall, this would be an ideal lifestyle. Try to come closer to it. And these are the foods that you can eat, not just any seasonal list, but even among the seasonal foods, these are the superfoods. So for example, in fall, all my students are taking more pomegranate. And it can get tedious to just eat pomegranate. So we teach them so many recipes that you can have pomegranate in different ways in an Ayurvedic recipes here. So what happens is you can then transition into a new season fully ready for a new grocery list. And you can, of course, still buy your new clothes, but your cells can also get some new clothing, and you can radiate with health. This is how I don't come down with seasonal afflictions, and a bulk of my students also, get out of that because they are moving along, realigning their microcosm with the macrocosm. Similarly, a macrocosm can be the society. And the society has certain expectations from us as men or women. Or, these should be your goals. So if you are born in a certain country, in a certain religion, in a certain family, certain goals get handed out to us, like women do this or women don't do this, or we do this and we don't do this, or if you're a good girl you do this, or if you're a gentleman you do this. So these are all these, so we try our best. The child who liked himself or herself fabulously grows up and tries to follow these rules per the society, but Ayurveda says, wait a minute. These are all hand-me-down scripts to you. Okay. Let us give you some universal ways of aligning with your goals. And then it teaches us all about the concept of purushartha, or what are your human aspirations. And it says, you do aspire to be wealthy. Stop faking it. And here is a way to be wealthy and abundant. You deserve it. Abundance is your natural state. You do want to play and have sex. So stop pretending that you're so holy that you don't want sex. Really, Ayurveda talks like that. Ayurveda says, enjoy yourself, but, these are the ethical boundaries. Don't cross those boundaries, because then you'll hurt yourself and someone else, and that's not being dharmic. But then beyond these two things, once you're abundant and playful and happy and cheerful, and you have all the beautiful clothes you needed for different seasons, you're good to go. Now you also need to focus on cultivating values inside you so that you can really grow in your consciousness. And finally, one of your goals could be that you could be on a spiritual quest. Part of studying Ayurveda is to be on a spiritual quest. And people could say, why are you doing that? And before you start giving them an elaborate answer, you can just say, because I love me. Because I deserve this inner quest, this inner exploration. So this way, Ayurveda helps us align even with society by helping us understand more about our goals, called purushartha. Or it even talks about swadharma, or the concept of propensities. For example, you may be born to be a wealth maker, or a spiritual seeker, or a pleasure seeker. Know yourself, celebrate yourself. When you celebrate yourself, you have more well-being, you're more healthy. Be unapologetic. So all of this knowledge helps us align ourselves to who we are rather than being apologetic, wearing hand-me-worn-down scripts because my family does it, because my people do it this way. Yes, 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 all that is fine, but you are a unique painting by the higher power. What does the higher power want you to become so that you can celebrate the higher power through you? And that is why all these teachings that I will bring forward, which are taught in Ayurveda a long time ago, but they are no longer being taught, here you will learn and you can deeply benefit. The second part that Ayurveda wants us to embody is great respect for laws of nature. Because nature talks to us. The nature is an open book. And nature talks to us in the form of rhythms, biocircadian rhythms. We have a 24-hour rhythm where the light and dark changes, and then you have a seasonal rhythm. And all other living beings, animals and plants, follow that rhythm. And because we forgot that rhythm, Ayurveda wants to remind us of that rhythm. And so that is itself is a deeply powerful way of healing. So in a short summary, before I move on to what is special about the Awakening Health model versus any other model right now and why you will benefit from studying with me and my team of teachers here, is that you will undergo a refinement of human character. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that we are not having that right character. We still are doing all our best. We are, well-meaning people. But Ayurveda will give us a gift of values that we can incorporate, such as there is one value called arjavam, or straightforwardness, which says, before you speak and declare your presence to the world, make sure that your thoughts, your speech, and your inner feelings are aligned. Don't hurt yourself by hiding your truth or, going along and pleasing another. Find a way to express what you really believe. And, this really helps, for example, because then, we all know what buried emotions and suppressed feelings do to our health. So when you're really deeply aligned, your health starts improving. So your character becomes more and more shining and radiant with health-evoking values and new thoughts around your ambitions, around your instincts, around your gifts, around your life journey, around your healthy boundaries and relationships. All of this, Ayurveda wants us to think about, which means to contemplate. So this is a very unique medicine. Most medicine is prescriptive, but here it says, think. You have this special gift called the human thinking mind. Use it. This is your portal to health. Don't just pop things in your mouth. It's fine in the beginning, but for long-term change your thoughts, change your health. And then conscious interpersonal interactions, vyavahara, disciplined daily lifestyle, vihara, seasonal food, ahara, plant-based supplements. So I'm not talking about drugs here, I'm just talking about the marigolds growing in your garden, and you won't believe it, from cholesterol to rashes to rosacea to allergies, everything the humble marigolds can help you. So how can we use even just simple things that are growing in your pots or in your balcony to become your friends, and then you can grow them back again. They don't need 300 years to grow, and then you use it all up and you hurt nature. It's a simple flower medicines that you can use. Surgery was also an aspect of Ayurveda thousands of years ago. It's nice to know that it existed. It was always a last resort in case there was mutilation or a loss of a limb in war, etc. But now it is not an active field. And this is from my garden, by the way, this photograph. Every year I grow flowers which are medicinal. I have herbs and flowers in my own home. And now I want to talk to you about the Awakening Health model, and you will be so happy and delighted, not only because we offer it here at Vedika, but because it humbles us that the ancient sages had thought about this whole big way of teaching and really I'm just humbled to be returning to it. I feel like I'm an ambassador of the traditional teachers. Somebody has to hold on to what is traditional. This is Brittany Barrett. Brittany Barrett's story is in the introduction of my book, Ayurveda Lifestyle Wisdom. Brittany was 22-year-old when she met me some years ago at a bookstore in Bay Area, California. I was giving a public lecture. She kept crying in the front seat, just like some of you are sitting here. And later she came up to me and said that whatever I was speaking that day, I don't remember, gave her a lot of hope, because she had been told by Western medicine that she's broken forever. She had been diagnosed at that young age with ulcerative colitis. She used to go 10 to 20 times a day in one day, and there would be a lot of blood in her stool, and she was taking 18 drugs at that time, and she had been told that this part of her body had been broken forever and nothing could be really done about it. And so therefore she was on this medicine. She left. She did not proceed with any vocation. She had to go live at her parents' home, and she was really, looking for help. There was a part of her that didn't believe that she's broken. That's why she found me and came to my lecture. That night I dreamt of her. I actually dreamt of taking her back to me to Ayodhya, my ancient, tiny, sweet hometown. And it kind of became prophetic, that dream, because the next few days I was leading a retreat called Embrace Your Shakti, or Embrace Your Inner Power, and she was there. And she did not eat the food, the Ayurvedic food that we had cooked for our students there. Instead, she opened her raw fruit and yogurt diet. And our student explained that when you have digestive issues, we don't mix dairy and fruit in Ayurveda, a rule that she knew. And Brittany thought to herself, these ladies are really nice, but they don't know anything about food. Actually, she didn't know about it because she had been told by Western medicine that food doesn't really affect her condition. Interesting. But, to her, she was a smart girl and she knew this can be true. And as she listened more and more to me, she started saying, let me give this awakening Ayurveda model a chance. And she joined my 1-year course. And within 1 year, her bowel movements went down from 20, within few weeks, they went down from 20 a day to 7 or 8 and even less. Because when she met me briefly during the retreat, me and my team of teachers and friends, we gave her 5, not friends, but students, we gave her 5 suggestions, and she literally wrote them down on a napkin, in the kitchen. And it said, make an altar in your home, whichever way you connect with a higher power, even if it's just flowers, do that. Trust that there is a higher power that's your friend. It's interested in you becoming the best version of you. And when you do that, you get more and more help. Number 2, go for a walk every day, even if you're feeling weak, and pluck wildflowers and gift them to you. Love yourself through this. Number 3, stop eating raw foods because your digestion has broken down. It cannot digest it right now. Even yogurt is considered a superfood, but here is why it won't work for you. Or if you have to have yogurt, you have to mix it with 4 times water, whip it, make it an Ayurvedic buttermilk, and then have it. You can't have processed cheese, and a couple of things. So 5 things were told to her. She followed those 5 things because she had nothing else going on in her life. She had no hope, no plan. She just had that little napkin with 5 things written on it, and she made it happen. Within few weeks, she felt better. Her bowel movements improved. She knew that this was the way, just through that small, tiny, insignificant list of things to do, which improved her well-being. Her health started improving. Within 1 year, she even got off of an antidepressant that she had been put on since age 16. And she is now fully cured. She herself is actually teaching Ayurveda and is doing all kinds of amazing things to spread this knowledge. So this is our dear Brittany right here. So she came from a worldview where we all come from, where health is limited. You have it and then you're losing it. Oops, you got ulcerative colitis. There you go. It's going, gone. Oops, you got an accident. Now you'll never recover. Oops, you got, cancer. This is the end of your life. Oops, you have depression in your family, or alcoholism, or this and that, or diabetes, and now this is what's going to happen. That doesn't work that way, and you do not have to constant battle with the disease. We begin with saying, you got disease? No problem. Congratulations. This means it's time for you to get really healthy. Dis-ease means the higher power now wants to introduce you to a teacher, a tradition, education, knowledge, just like darkness always means there is dawn close by. That's what it means. No fighting it. And then health is your birthright. Aham arogyam. It lives inside you. It shall reveal itself. Forget thinking about your ulcerative colitis. Go pluck your flowers. Meditate. Make your buttermilk and drink it. Make 1 or 2 recipes that we taught you or you know. And focus on all those things and you won't even know it, but the dis-ease goes away and all the clouds scatter away and all that is left is the bright sun. This woman would come back to our school and tell us about, with a beautiful smile, she would tell us, you don't even know the kind of wonderful bowels I'm having. And she would just be smiling and laughing all the way. And I know that she will still smile when she listens to this because she does not feel any shame in talking about this because this is what human beings, that's what we're about. We have to talk about what we are hiding and let the world know where all health is possible by awakening it and believing in it. So really, in my model, balance, restore, and enjoyment is very important in the creation of health versus the fighting model. So if you've been fighting weight, you've been fighting blood sugar, you've been fighting physical pain, you've been fighting depression, I ask you to put it aside for a while and say, I'm no longer going to war. I have this pain. Hello, friend. What do you want me to what do you want to tell me? You are part of this whole creation. You belong to me. We're going to have a new relationship now. And you can be here while I apply this oil. You can be here while I digest this. You can be here while I cook this. And very soon that pain transforms and all you're left with is a really amazing lifestyle and radiant health. So this is the core of how we are different. In Western medicine, for example, there is intellectual knowledge of plants focused on the active ingredient, right? Most of the medicines come from isolating an active ingredient, and often that gives us side effects. For example, Raufolia serpentina is an herb that has been used in Ayurveda for a long time. The whole herb is crushed, made into a tea, and it is great for stress. It's great for hypertension for thousands of years. This was one of the first drugs from an Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia that caught attention of the Western model. And, you know, in London, they did a lot of research and then they isolated the active ingredient called serpentine and made medicine out of it. But the medicine started giving side effects because it was isolated. Whereas in India, till today, the whole herb is used because there are checks and balances within the whole herb. So I'm not sure if this model really works, this isolated ingredient reductionist model. And when we follow Western protocols for our health, I've just put in here, not because students are trying to achieve it, but we need to see the difference and get informed. You know, we don't really develop a relationship with the natural world. In fact, we are quite isolated from it. And we open these bottles with, smelling medicine. The drugs are smelling of chemicals more than nature. That is the fact. Then secondly, when you look at the contemporary Ayurveda model taught worldwide outside Vedika, it has a more utilitarian perspective. You know, here is an herb called Gotukola or Brahmi. We don't know where it grows. We don't know how it looks. We definitely don't know how to grow it ourselves. And here, it's been reduced to a powder. Take it 3 times a day. It's going to help you with your depression. So it's a really utilitarian model. Or here is sandalwood, which by the way is almost extinct in India because it got, there's so much pirating around sandalwood, which takes 300 years to grow. 300 years to grow. And so much pirating going around sandalwood. And in the utilitarian model, all people learned was, here, put some on your skin and you'll have beautiful skin. And we didn't even realize that we were destroying entire forests of sandalwood. So I am against this utilitarian model because it just makes us look at herbs as medicine. It makes us become selfish. And it also makes us not realize what they can have a relationship with them. But here in the Awakening Health model, you will bring in a plant in your life as a respected family member. My students are growing herbs in their home, or certain herbs, even like Brahmi, in their home, in their little pots. They may be actually taking 2 or 3 leaves and swallowing them, or making a little chutney out of it for their mental health, but then they thank that plant. And because they've grown it, they've fed that plant feeds you back with love. So there's such a beautiful relationship. And my students have begun to preserve seeds, because seeds are becoming extinct now. So they are preserving seeds. My students gift each other seeds. And so you will develop a whole relationship. Even if you live in a tiny apartment, you could have a window where you could be growing 4 or 5 herbs that you need, that are critical for you, and they are your family member. One of my students mentioned to us how she used to kill plants. So if you gave her an orchid, it would die. If you gave her any plant, it wouldn't do well, and she felt really guilty as a result. But after studying with me, she has a whole backyard full of garden of herbs and plants, and she feels like she had green fingers after all. And I told her, I said, you have everything in you after all. You just didn't know it. When we don't know it, we're ignorant and we think we kill plants, but actually we can nurture plants. So you develop a whole relationship with it. That is how we teach you. So do you create herb gardens in Western medicine or contemporary Ayurveda models of teaching worldwide? No, not at all. You actually deplete them, you use them, and you inadvertently do not uphold dharma, because you don't even know that you're part of a chain that's making important herbs extinct. You don't even know this when you're buying them today, like ashwagandha or, Brahmi or guduchi, and you look at this now, not only wholesalers from India, but worldwide, very, corporate houses are getting interested in buying herbs from India, because Ayurveda is becoming famous. But you don't want to be part of that chain of using. You also want to be a part of the chain of giving back. So that's what we do. You grow herb gardens. From a drug perspective, Western medicine puts you in total dependence. Whether you have pain or diabetes or asthma or depression, you'll be on drugs forever. Like Brittany Barrett was told that she would take 18 drugs, and maybe a few would lessen, over the years, but she would be drug dependent forever. Now she doesn't take even Ayurvedic herbs. Just food, lifestyle, and thoughts are enough for this gorgeous girl to be truly deeply gorgeous from within. And in contemporary Ayurveda model worldwide, you are told to have some dependence. You will need these herbs. So it's at least relatively less, so that's a good thing, but there is some dependence. But in my Awakening Health model, there is zero dependence. And any herbs that I put my students are more like tonics, which you grow. And so pomegranates, when you drink when you take the pomegranate seeds and make a juice of it, for example, you keep the outer dry rind, which then you grind, and then that becomes a medicine for you, even the skin of the pomegranate, and because with which you brush your teeth or you use it on your skin. So we use every part of the herb as very potent and effective medicine. So yoga philosophy, the philosophy aspect of yoga, not just physical yoga, which actually supports a calm mind, a focused mind, and helps you at your profession, helps you in your communication, helps with everything. It is not taught in Western medicine, of course. They are trying to introduce physical yoga. Even in contemporary Ayurveda model in schools worldwide, the philosophy aspect is very minimal, whereas in the Awakening Health model, the teachings of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is an ancient text, all of these teachings are conveyed to you, where I have a 4-part video series where I teach you the essence of the most important verses for you to contemplate and think about, because it teaches you 5 things you must do, incorporate in your life to have radiant health of the mind, and 5 things you must not do, and things like that. And I expound on them for hours and hours, because I feel this is very important complementary medicine to Ayurveda, because body and mind, they are interconnected. Then from a science and spirituality perspective, in Western medicine, they are in conflict, unfortunately. In the contemporary Ayurveda model, if you go to India, if you start to study, or here, they are compartmentalized. This is soul, this is mind, this is body. Today we are studying for the body. Today we are studying for the mind. Today we are studying for the soul. When you study in the awakening health model, as per the ancient rishis, my lineage and myself, when I'm teaching about doshas or your body, I'll still be talking about the higher power, you as the soul, etc. It will all be integrated at every level, because can we really take you apart? I think it's ridiculous. We cannot compartmentalize you. So we will have to be talking about God all the way to your cells all together. That's just the way it works. Let's look at the epistemology. From when we developed Western medicine, it developed upon, statistical hypothesis. We test a hypothesis, we come to some statistical conclusions, and then we proceed. And in case we have different conclusions, we change our direction. So it's still groping its way through darkness and finding its way. That's why it also changes its proclamations very frequently. In the contemporary Ayurveda model, the teachings are based on conceptual, theoretical. There is some conceptual or theoretical facts given by our ancient teachers, based upon which there is elucidation, there is a lot of talking and teaching. But here in the awakening health model, it is an experiential model. When you are going to study with us, we are not going to just talk about the benefits of pomegranate. We're going to make you eat it, cook it, and apply it on your skin, make a gargle out of it, and then tell us if it works for you. So it's based on self-knowledge, and self-knowledge means you are the self, you are the spirit, and your knowledge about how you are becoming comfortable in the world. Does this work for you? Why it worked for you? So it's very experiential. We don't, simply talk about it. Believe it or not, in some of the best schools of Ayurveda, people have never ever cooked even one recipe. We've had the topmost teachers from India, heads of departments, deans of various universities come and teach here, and they were shocked to see our living kitchen and our demo table. And one of the most senior-most teacher of Ayurveda from Kerala came here, and he had never seen students have a demo of how to make buttermilk. They had only memorized the verses, but they had never actually made it themselves. So this is the difference between a theoretical explanation and an experiential model, which we have not only initiated it worldwide, but we have taken it to deep levels. Finally, relief. At a Western medicine level, it is symptomatic. If your symptom disappears, you're good to go. At a contemporary Ayurveda level, mostly we are focusing on your doshas. If your doshas are energies of the body, like you have in Chinese medicine, yin yang, I think, right? You want to balance it. In Western medicine, we have 3 energies, vata, pitta, and kapha. Can we balance them? That is the question. So there's a lot of talk on that, a lot of discussion on it, a lot of expertise on it, which is very useful and helpful. But in the awakening health model, we want to go beyond just your dosha, because sometimes I have noticed you can try to balance your energy for years and years, but the root cause was an emotional conflict within you. Because you didn't like yourself, because somewhere long time ago, you forgot that you are enough, and you forgot that you have the privilege to be yourself, and you forgot that you don't owe anybody any explanations. And because of that, you have constant anxiety, constant stress, constant whatever, And so the root cause could be, the symptom could be the dosha. Sometimes the root cause is the dosha. Sometimes the symptom is dosha. And this is something that got completely stepped over in contemporary Ayurveda. We just begin with dosha, stay in doshas, end with dosha. An example of that could be that in my own case, there was some leftover pain, after oiling, etc., everything, there was some leftover pain. So I discussed with a panel of Ayurveda doctors, like, why am I having this pain? And they kept pointing to a certain energy known as Vata dosha. You have Vata dosha. I said, Tell me how. I eat properly, I think properly, I have a lifestyle that's beautiful. Why do I have it? So no, it's Vata dosha. You must, this is it. Finally, because I believe in my own model, I said there has to be something more. And I explored it. And I had lost my mother at age 10. And during that time, there were certain memories that I had not processed. There was just a small amount of grief that I had not processed. So I went inside, and when I processed that grief, even that last pain left my body. So then I told those doctors, I said, you have forgotten that mind is an intrinsic part of the relationship of the whole. How come we were only focusing on Vata dosha? And I have spent so much money on panchakarma, so much money on medicine. These are all procedures. They help for a while, but if you want to get to the root cause, you have to see the whole. You can't just spend money on oiling the body, medicating the body, feeding the body. What about the mind? What about the emotions? What about the relationships? Let us not commit the mistake that Western medicine has done of isolating the being into pieces and parts. We have to look at the whole. And like I said, and sometimes it could just be the dosha. Sometimes the dosha is the root, and sometimes it is the symptom. And we have to discover what is the root cause. And in my model, we don't stop just at one thing. We have to look, and every student gets empowered to look for the root cause. Similarly, then regarding individual customization, it is not possible in Western medicine. We do some customization in the contemporary Ayurveda model anywhere in the world, but mostly it's based on your dosha and your herbs, right? But in our awakening health model, in this model that I've given, we focus including on your psychology. For example, amongst all of you sitting here, I could talk to you about the universal paradigm of life goals, which are 4 types, but one person may be inclined and ready for one goal, which is more spiritual. Another may be inclined on a more abundance-generating goal. And we can't really prescribe the same goals to everybody. So you're a unique painting, and your unique colors must be upheld for your true health. So we have to give you a knowledge without trying to squeeze you into styles of doshas, of diets, and even of spiritual and psychological well-being. We can't do that. For one person, meditating may be a better way to be. And for another person, exercising, going to the gym, and even going to a party may be a better way to be healthy. Because, meditating may be something that's too quiet for them. They need to be more active. So Ayurveda was never trying to box us. Ayurveda was telling to balance whatever we are missing. And somehow, quickly, again and again, we become prescriptive. And in my teaching, I do not want us to be prescriptive. I shall give you knowledge, and I shall teach you how to use it. It's like you'll have paint colors. And, I'm not going to try to make the painting for you and tell you, put blue here, put red here. You get to put the paint as you require. From a healer perspective in Western medicine, as you know, we depend completely upon the doctor. In the prescriptive model, you outsource your health to the Vedika or to the healer. They tell you what to eat, they tell you what to drink, they tell you what to do. But in awakening health model, I want to empower you. You might never need a healer again. All my students initially think, can we hold on to Acharya Shunya? And very soon they forget about me, because in a good way, because I've given them the knowledge. Then you're not dependent. And that's the real gift that we can give to the world, is if instead of giving you fish, I can teach you how to fish. That is more important. And that is what the sages wanted. They wanted everybody to have a certain amount of knowledge so that your visits to the Vedika are very rare or none, and you are completely on your own, enjoying the health, which is your birthright. From a reductionist perspective, as you know, Western medicine is reduced to organs and cells, and contemporary Ayurveda is reduced to doshas. But we are not reducing you to anything. We just want you to remain a whole person throughout. From a learning transmission perspective, Western medicine goes by only research that has been published. If it's not published, it doesn't exist. If it's not published in a certain journal, it doesn't exist. So their paradigm of what can be considered a valid source of knowledge is, one or two journals and whether it's published or not. Contemporary Ayurveda taught in any other school worldwide, we go by commentaries, whereas in my school here, we teach based upon the source texts from 1 BCE, 2 BCE, such as Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, etc., that we teach about. Finally, this is the last slide, showing you how we are different. From a diet and nutrition perspective, as you know, Brittany Barrett, in spite of having ulcerative colitis, and she mentioned how she had a lifestyle prior to becoming sick of a college grad, just having really no fixed time for eating and lots of parties and pizza, etc., and stress. Food, Western medicine gives bare attention to it, or gives some cookie cutter things like everybody should eat salads, or everybody should have some things, or antioxidants. Everybody starts having something, the whole world. But a contemporary model does give us some dosha-based diets, but I'm about to teach another class on how nobody should eat dosha-based diets. That's a myth that has been propagated, because how can you eat dosha-based diets for the rest of your life? It gets completely boring. But somewhere somebody decided to tell the world that if you are a certain energy dominant person, you should eat that pacifying diet for the rest of your life. Whereas no mention of this is any of the source texts. This is going against our well-being if you have to restrict yourself to 40 foods for the rest of your life. This is not even healthy. This is depression-causing diets. Actually, Ayurveda says only if your dosha is aggravated for such and such time, you can eat this diet and notice the reduction of such and such symptom, and then you can eat whatever is growing in the season with more attention to certain foods. So this was another myth propagated by the contemporary Ayurveda model, because it was somebody, I don't know who, decided we will package the diet, packages sell. So people started making a list of what's their dosha and then getting really restricted. But this is not healthy, and we don't teach that. So it's a bit cookie cutter, what is being taught out there in the world. Whereas here we teach constructing a personalized diet based on what you need to balance and what is the season and what shall serve you. Tracy, who lost so many pounds and cleared up her skin and revived her own health, could not just eat one diet. She had to understand what works for her. Britt had to understand what works for her with her condition. They are completely different. Again, what we give you are the tools, and then you learn how to construct a diet, deconstruct a diet, change a diet, and so you will really enjoy having the knowledge rather than being given a cookie cutter diet. That's really easy to do, but we don't do that. From a healing recipes perspective, as Western medicine doesn't have any theoretical knowledge, so nor can it give you any recipes. I have found that most of the schools worldwide don't teach any recipes. In the Western world, we do have schools that teach recipes, but 5 to 10 is maximum. We teach over 30 recipes, and these recipes are not taught in any school. Bulk of these recipes are taught nowhere in the world. These recipes have been researched from ancient texts. They were lying forgotten and ignored. They were researched by my partner, Chef Sanjay, and myself. We researched them, we talked about them, we reconstructed them, and we teach you how to have it. We teach you how to use them, and they have become living recipes in my graduates' homes and households, and they make a big difference in helping you overcome antacid and other problems right away. From a paradigm perspective, you will not be fighting. You will not just be fighting and balancing all the time. You will be awakening health from within. From an integrated perspective, you shall be receiving psychological support throughout, because thoughts are most important, even more important than food and lifestyle, because unless your thoughts are directed towards wanting to heal and uncover the health within you, you won't do it. Thoughts are the tools for making the rest happen. So you shall be getting integrated psychological support throughout, and ultimately, in the end, whereas Western medicine is disease-focused. Contemporary Ayurveda is balance-focused. They all the time talk about balancing, balancing, balancing. For us, it's health-focused. And we say, forget balance, forget fighting. Here's what you can do to have a blast. If you were healthy, you would be doing this. And when you start doing that, you become that. Because that is your true nature. It's like if I asked you, what would you do if you really liked yourself right now? And you close your eyes and you will have a vision of what you were doing if you really, really liked yourself. And say you did that, everything changes. That's what it's about. So this is why you want to be studying the Awakening Health Model with me. You want to be donating to our organization if you're not studying directly or if you've benefited from it, because you would like to help us get the word out and get this model back to where it belongs to the people, because it has been forgotten through the erosion of time and history and the scars of colonialism and the issues of scientism and physicalism that has affected Ayurveda today. You would like to support a teacher, an organization, and a foundation that dares to stand on our own 2 feet, which are planted in the tradition of Ayurveda. Why? Not because we are sentimental or idealistic or we worship something special coming out of India, but purely because we believe this is the most logical, this is the most rational and the most scientific way of approaching the human body, because a human being is not just the body, but a mind. Also, there are senses. Also, there is spiritual aspects to consider. And finally, the human being is always in relationship with their environment, be it with people, be it with nature. And it dares to look at all of us in entirety, and it gives us permission to be who we are in our wholeness. So that is why I welcome you to study with me and to continue to keep the faith if you're already studying with me, because all of these great gifts are going to be yours.